Calling the meeting to order. The time is 7:07. Let's start with a salute the flag. May I please have a roll call? Oh, can I get a motion to open public?
I move that we open public session.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Good evening. I'm going to take the roll. Mr. Cathcart? Mr. Cooney?
Here.
Mrs. Kraft? Here. Mr. Phytros? Mr. Gomes?
Here.
Mrs. McNeil?
Here.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
Here.
Ms. Velez? Mrs. Orth? Here. President Martinez?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Do I need a motion?
I'm going to read the Open Public Meetings Act. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Ridgefield Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bergen Record, Star Ledger, Municipal Building, Board of Education offices, and district website. Public participation instructions. Public participation will be conducted both in person and virtually through Zoom. All public will be muted throughout the meeting. Public participation comments are limited to 5 minutes. The public will be able to both speak and be seen by the board when participating virtually or telephonically via Zoom. Individuals participating virtually that wish to make comments during public participation will need to raise their hand by clicking the blue hand icon at the bottom of their Zoom window. Individuals participating by telephone that wish to make comments during public participation will need to hit *9 on their telephone to raise their hand. The Business Administrative Board Secretary will then unmute individuals one at a time to speak in the order that their hand was raised.
And as we have no agenda, we're going to move to citizens' comments off agenda items.
Good evening. Sorry. Each member of the public will have five. Each member of the public will have 5 minutes to speak during the comment period. Time cannot be transferred to other individuals. The public comment period will be 1 hour for on-agenda items. Thank you for your cooperation and support. Good evening. Before we begin public comment, as chair of the, as a trustee, I want to remind everyone that we believe it is crucial to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. The board is here to listen. However, the public comment period is not designed to be a discussion. Accordingly, the board may respond to easier questions tonight or may not respond to questions tonight, depending on the level of research needed to answer the question. This is because we take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues. If need be, we will, however, expect that Dr. Haines or the relevant staff member get back to you. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy issue, the board is unable to respond to comments related to school personnel or students or those that involve pending litigation. Please know, however, that we take personnel and student concerns very seriously. On these matters, we would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels, such as your school principal, the administrator in charge of the department, or Dr. Haines. We want our school board meetings to serve as an example to our student that members of our school board and members of our community can deal with controversial issues in a civil manner and demonstrate mutual respect. In the spirit, we will insist. Kiss the mic. Hello? Okay. For tonight's meeting, there will be two public comment session, one on agenda and one off, just on agenda, one off agenda, excuse me, and one off agenda, only one off agenda items. There is a sign up sheet on the podium. We'll call your name in the order that you sign in. Each member of the public will have 5 minutes to speak during each comment period. Time cannot be transferred to other individuals. The public comment period will be 1 hour for off agenda items. The board will now entertain public comment. Please remember to state your name, Ridgefield Park mailing address, and to keep your comments brief to allow sufficient time for other members of the public to speak if they wish. Thank you.
Sharon Ramirez.
Sharon Ramirez, 205 Overpeck Avenue. I have a little sidekick today. He's not planning on talking. So I am a parent of 4 children. This is my youngest. He's over at Roosevelt. I have 3 children here in the junior, senior high school. We have been a member of this community since I've been married to my husband. My husband's been a part of this community since he's been born. So Ridgefield Park means a lot to my family, personally, from my husband's point of view. And when we were looking for places to live, Ridgefield Park was the main place I really wanted to because of the school district, which I've stated many times in the past. I've been to many meetings. I've been involved a lot. I really didn't get up to speak a lot until over the last 2 years when things started going in a direction that started to upset me. As stated before, the staff in the schools from Roosevelt, where I'm familiar with, to the junior, senior high school is fantastic. That is not my concern here and the education that my children get. I'm very active with the PTA in the town, making sure that Ridgefield Park's a wonderful community to live. It really saddens me when I see online that people are ready to leave because taxes are raising, and we're not getting what we're paying for. A year and a half ago, we decided to remove Dr. Bender and put in an acting superintendent. And I think most people here and online can agree that things have just gotten out of control, have gone downhill. We have totally gotten to a direction that it really is upsetting. It's upsetting because really we're a chain. Every chain in this, every link in this chain is supposed to be strong, and our leadership here is just out of control. In the past, when I have spoken at meetings with other superintendents, I did not agree with everything that every superintendent ever made. But I always knew that decisions were made in the best interest for our children, whether I agreed with it or not. I felt that children were put first always. Over the last year and a half, I do not feel that we are putting our children first. I feel that we are making decisions out of spite. We are making decisions because personally we don't like people. And we are hurting our district. We are hurting the programs in our district. We are hurting money coming into our district. And I think, and I pray that things will change now that we are in a new year. However, I really am, I'm standing here and I'm pleading with the board, all the new members and the current returning members, to please make a decision that will benefit our children, because this is not the direction that we're going in spite of whatever personal feelings that other people have. That should not be how decisions are made in this town. So thank you again. Thank you for your time. And obviously, we love our children in this district and we don't want to see them hurt. We want everything for the best of them. He's my youngest, so I want, hopefully when we plan to stay here till he's in 12th grade. So, right? He loves his teachers. We love the school, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Lori Paschik.
Lori Pasiak, 15 Webster Street. I'm going to read a statement that another parent had sent because she couldn't be here tonight. And then if I have time, I'll add to it. I know that you have difficult decisions to make this evening in your executive session. I ask you to consider these factors. Dr. Haines is currently risking $1 million in funding for a universal preschool program, a program that is one of our district goals. Our middle school principal was ripped away from us because Dr. Haines lied to this community and said it was mandated by the state. For those of us that took the time to contact the county superintendent, we quickly learned that it was nothing but a lie. However, Ms. Theimann was pushed into a preschool admin job and was able to excel in her position as Director of Early Childhood Education. And as a result, we have $1 million of funding promised to us for the next year. Removing her from this position is not only jeopardizing next year's funding, but the remainder of this year's. Now, personally, I don't have a preschooler, but had Matthew had this opportunity, I would have loved it. I had to actually, because I put him in late, I couldn't get in touch with the co-op around here. I had to drive him up to Ridgewood every day to go to a preschool program. This program would have made it so I didn't have to do that. I ask that the board step in and stop the retaliation against Ms. Theimann that has been in this district. She has been in this district for 25 years and a person that this community stands behind and wants in place as an administrator. The only way to have this retaliation stop is to remove Dr. Haines from the position that he holds of acting superintendent so he can stop bullying and harassing an employee that has dedicated her career to this community. I implore the Board of Education to do the right thing and give us back the district we all love and stop allowing this man to single-handedly destroy our school district. Now that was from that other parent. Personally, I mean, we all know that I have an opinion of Dr. Haines that is not favorable. I feel he has done a lot of damage to the school district. And my son is in the 9th grade. I've had a long time to watch this. I have to say that I am appalled by what's happened to Dr. Bender. I think she is a wonderful, wonderful superintendent. I don't know why she was removed. I know that you can't answer that question, but I can't imagine anything she did rises to the level of what he's been doing to this school district. I really don't understand how we're letting this happen. It should not happen. Our kids deserve better, and you all know it. And I know a lot of you do work hard to try and make sure our kids get what they need. We remove this man and they will really get what they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Malou?
Janet Malul, 163 East Grand. I'm going to read because otherwise I will forget half of this. I decided to look at this entire mess we are in from where it started. I read through minutes as well as agendas and go back to the same question I asked the night Dr. Bender was suspended and Dr. Haines was her replacement. How can the board at that time vote for every action Dr. Bender put on the agenda in favor of her recommendations, but suspend her because they no longer had trust in her ability to run this district? Yet at meetings after meetings of citizens complaining about Dr. Haines' ability to do the job, they kept renewing him. Makes no sense to me. I then asked myself the question, how much has Dr. Haines cost this district? Let's start financially. Before the suspension, we had a superintendent salary, an assistant superintendent, Dr. Haines, that whatever position that is, and a middle school principal. Those are the three key players in this situation as I see it. Next, we have the salaries of the suspended superintendent, acting superintendent salary, plus his stipends, and a middle school principal. One step further, we have the suspended superintendent acting superintendent plus his stipends. Now, people getting paid stipends to do the job he originally was hired to do, or parts of it. Middle school principal is now gone and they pay, I think it's 2 more people in some kind of role of dean to make up the loss of that position. Next, with all that in place, they moved to the former middle school principal. They moved that person into the assistant director of pre-K. It was a year position, but supposedly evaluated halfway through and removed by the state monitor. Since when do we have those type of positions in a school district? It goes by the school year, not halfway. On top of it, it was the state monitor that removed her. The board had voted to table it until the new board was in place to make that decision. Since when is the monitor making educational decisions? Because that is the way I see it. How do you remove a person from a job who on short notice had gained grants and was now even able to get a grant that would pay for the salaries plus allow for more classes? So now we have a suspended superintendent, an acting superintendent with stipends, a few more people with stipends, 2 deans added, extra teacher salary since we've put her back in the classroom, and no one in charge of a grant from what I can see. Reminds me of that song, The 12 Days of Christmas, where you just keep piling it on. We went from 3 salaries to, I can't even count how many at this point. Not too long ago, I asked the planning board if anyone was keeping count of how many apartments were approved in this village. So I asked a comparable question as to what it is costing us with all these positions, full-time, part-time stipends created since the suspension of Dr. Bender. And let's not forget the 2 lawsuits that also have been caused by those actions. Adding everything up, I estimate that we started with 3 positions, maybe totaling around 400,000, and by now we must be close to $1 million. Now I ask Mr. Egan, how is this being fiscally responsible? If you were doing your job and being fiscally responsible, why would you pitch our latest grant and program to another district? Why would you remove a person that's doing the job from that position? That's the person getting you the grants. It's like biting the hand that feeds you. I don't know. It just seems totally wrong. I also feel that you're overstepping your bounds, and it really has to stop. Now, back to Dr. Haines. What does he cost our students? And that's the most important part. I said it before, I'll say it again. Yes, he was given 2 jobs, but coming out of the pandemic, your primary focus, no matter which position you look at from an educator's view, should have been to plan to reacclimate students back into schools, both socially, emotionally, and academically. Have you guys looked at the scores that was in the paper about a week ago? It's scary. I was sick to my stomach when I saw what they looked like. You allow consultants to be hired constantly, and that's not the answer, obviously. So that should be really looked at. I hope this board does what is right for our students, our finances, and careers of longtime educators, which are being destroyed by the past board, Dr. Haines, and now Mr. Egan, I will add to the list. I ask this board to please reinstate Dr. Bender as superintendent, remove Dr. Haines from the district, reinstate Ms. Theimann to either a middle school principal or make her director of the pre-K. And let's petition to get to the state to either return Mr. Demikoff or even drop the need for any monitor altogether. Then I believe we will see positive results. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Rafferty?
Yes, sir. John Rafferty, 54 Euclid Avenue. Congratulations to the new board. I wasn't able to make the last meeting. It's certainly a breath of fresh air. I thought a great deal about what I might say tonight before your closed door session, but before the meeting even starts. I think just the fact that we're starting the year with a special meeting to bring all of the members up to snuff so they have the proper information as to how to make the decision is a step that we haven't seen in 3 years. So it's just the right way to go. This way, everybody knows what they're talking about. I could give 1,000 reasons to see both Dr. Bender and Ms Theimann returned. The taxpayers, what it's costing, et cetera, so on. None of those mean anything. Only one thing means anything, and that is what is best for our children. Dr. Bender came in as superintendent with a phrase that I just cherish. Raise the bar and support our teachers. Real simple, nothing gray, nothing hard to interpret, anything at all. Why I was told, quote, at a board meeting from Dr. Haines, our social programs come before education. Our social programs come first before our education. I am asking the board to look at some of the facts tonight. It will not happen tonight. Educate yourself as to exactly what happened. I have great confidence that everyone will see the scandal and railroading that went on. It is more than obvious. And then to do nothing but consider what is best for our children, nothing else. Our children have been screwed for 3 years, and we need to get them back on track. My granddaughter's in 10th grade now. They're working on stuff I worked on in 6th grade. Dr. Bender is a professional educator, as well as Ms Theimann, who have both done an excellent job and wound out being out the door for it. Please consider this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. DeSantis?
Susan DeSantis, 15 Homestead Place. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see this board. Okay. Most of you, or some of you, were here for hiring Dr. Bender. You know that the community petitioned this and waited 2 years. I know some of you were afraid that she might be part of the network of corruption that was going on here, and others felt that they didn't know if she was strong enough to stand up to these people. You know, when they sent her home, it was in the face of 750 signatures plus and 300 people in attendance in opposition to this. Since then, and the installation of Dr. Haines, this district has been just ripped to shreds. The staff doesn't want him. The parents don't want him. The community doesn't want him. Everything he does is, I guess he's a puppet for these people. It took us 2 years to unseat the board and put you all in there. You were all part of the fight. And reinstating Dr. Bender puts a stop to it immediately. She can go back to doing what she was doing, which was changing things, turning things around, helping, bringing in programs, new curriculum, and bringing this district back to where it should be without personal agendas. It stops the bleeding of constant monies on attorneys and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and a lawsuit that could turn into quite a few $1 million because she is going to win it. I mean, that's obvious if you read anything that's online about the case. So I'm just saying it's time to put a stop to this. Put her back in, stop everything immediately. and get this district back to where it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Ms. Kelly, do we have anybody online?
Good evening. I didn't write anything down, which is better for me because it's more core day for me, but Christina Ramos, 382 Teaneck Road. In addition to what everybody else mentioned about Ms. Bender, I stand behind them and the decision, hopefully, to bring her back. I trust everyone, well, almost everyone on this board now to make, a good decision when it comes to that. And hopefully we can move forward from that soon. However, in addition to bringing back, hopefully, Dr. Bender, I think that we should look into seeing how much time left we have in needing to keep the state monitor in all. If we can't bring Mr. Demikoff back, we should definitely look into that as to how many more years or do we have to keep a state monitor. I also would like to know how much money we have left on our loan. Hopefully, if we repay that back all, and in addition with having been with the state monitor for over 7 years now, I believe, hopefully we can get rid of the state monitor and all. That would be a great expense to save at this point, because the things that I'm hearing out there about Mr. Egan are not good. I've been doing quite a little bit of digging and it's very concerning. So I do not believe that he has our best interests at heart. And I think the day after our last board meeting, Mr. Egan went to Little Ferry to give them a nice grand presentation of the shared services that he proposed. For me, a proposal means that other people that he proposed this idea was going to be part of the decision-making, but apparently Mr. Egan has other plans. I don't believe that he has shared any presentation with anyone, at least the community never saw one. And I want to remind Mr. Egan that for your time here, hopefully as short as possible that it may be, that you work for Ridgefield Park. You do not work for Little Ferry. So we should be your first people that you address when you want to push forward any proposals that concern our district. It's unethical business practice that you went to Little Ferry to present them with this proposal before us. It's not right. And I think you know that. I'm not sure if everybody knew that, but yes, he was at Little Ferry reorganization meeting on January 5th, and he presented them with a presentation of the shared service agreement. I'm not sure if any information has been relayed to the board as of yet regarding this proposal, but I sure hope the community is included in this information. And I sure hope that the board is the one ultimately left to decide these decisions, not the state monitor, as this has nothing to do with the stability or financial stability of our district. Thank you.
Mr. DeSantis?
Always promise I'll be brief, but I will be. At DeSantis 15 Homestead Place. The board as it sits now is exciting, and it's pleasing to see you there. A lot of faith in what you're going to do going forward. There's a lot to address here. Personally, I'm very much in support of Angela Bender as superintendent. A number of community members are in the hundreds, as we have found. And this is, the question of superintendent is in the board's hands. And I believe this Board of Education not only will make good decisions about superintendent choices and roles Ms. Theimann has played, but also about all the decisions you're going to make going forward. There's a sense now that we can have a superintendent, a board that's on the same page. We have, for the first time in a number of years, and we would have an actual full-time superintendent and a full-time business administrator, not an interim. This is the first time, I think, since 2017, we have not had interims in one position or the other. I'll leave it at I trust in you to make your decisions, and they will be hopefully what I think are the best decisions for the district, but they are your decisions. I also would like you to, I know that you were overridden on Ms. Theimann's position, particularly the middle school principal. It does not mean the board can't bring it back to the table. And I'm hoping that in a very short time, those discussions come back. Now, we do have a dilemma of a middle school principal and a director of a preschool, our preschool, not another district's preschool, our preschool. And it should be somebody here. And I understand it's a bit of a dilemma because now we have another administrator. I think Ms. Theimann will be best in the high school position to middle school, but she's done great at either. So I put my faith in all of you unconditionally, not demands. And I'm looking forward to a good year. And I most sincerely mean that. And good luck with the decisions you have to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly, do we have anybody else to elevate? Okay. I just want to make a very brief comment about that addresses both of your concerns. Just to be clear, and again, to borrow my predecessor's line in full transparency, the state monitor has reached out to me, and I've also spoken to Mr. Feitros of Little Ferry, and it's been very clear that all parties have promised that any shared services agreement that we make between the two districts will be above board, will be mutually beneficial, and will be well looked at by our attorneys as well as everybody else. So as far as Mr. Egan's been concerned, he's been very clear with me and very transparent in that regard, that this will be something that's above board, that both boards will be in agreement, and that we're not looking for any more conflict between the districts. So that's my hope, and that's what I expect. Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I've moved that we go to executive session. Second.
Have a roll call?
Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Mrs. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Ms. Velez.
Yes.
Yes, okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Feitros.
Yes.
Forgot Mrs. Orth
Yes.
and President Martinez.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
We will not be returning to public session. So have a good night and thank you for joining us.